Bedtime Stories from Sleep With Me is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. You chose to hit play on this podcast today. Smart choice. Make another smart choice with Auto Quote Explorer to compare rates from multiple car insurance companies all at once. Try it at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy. Friends beyond the binary, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. It's time for the podcast. When I was coming home from the grocery store, I thought of a song. I was listening to an episode before it comes out, and then I heard myself repeat something that I heard repeated in the song. Oh, it goes on and on and on. So if you're listening and you throw your hands up in the air sometimes, you say, Scoots, oh. And you see, what rhymes with that? Well, Lyle Alzado does. That's not what they're saying in the song. But I'm a podcaster that does go on and on and on. And some people, they do throw their hands up. But if you've been throwing your hands up about getting to sleep, you may be in the right place. Welcome if you're new. If you're a regular listener, so glad you're back. I love what your hair looks great, by the way. Or, just a here's a compliment. You're doing great. But if you're new, this show is a bit different. It is a bit strange. It does take some getting used to. Most regular listeners say it takes 2 or 3 tries to get used to because it's here to keep you company and take your mind off of stuff so you could fall asleep. I make the show, and there's a lot of people listening right now, at least, who are nodding their heads because I can relate to what it's like not to be able to sleep, those feelings you might have. That's why I call it the deep, dark night. And there's also the fact you deserve a good night's sleep. You deserve a place you could get some rest, the rest you need. So that's why I make the show. Give it a few tries. If you find out you don't like the show, sleepwithmepodcast.com/no thank you has a list of other podcasts and stuff. But I'm so glad you're here. What we'll do is we'll have some support for the show, then a long, meandering intro to ease you into bedtime, and then a bedtime story to put you to sleep. So welcome to Sleep With Me, the podcaster that does go on and on and on and throws the lulls out like... not like Lyle Alzado. I'm not even sure I know who Lyle Alzado is, except that I said, say hey-o, Lyle Alzado. So anyway, it's time for sleep. Believe it or not, this is a sleep podcast. Oh, yeah, it's time for Sleep With Me, the podcast that puts you to sleep. Hey, everybody, Scoots here. It's time for our episodically modular series, which I think is being called Make Great Pets. It's about pets, kind of. It's about pets helping people. But as always, it's a little bit more than that. It's full of meanders and I don't know if there's soliloquies. There is a mention. Here's like what you got to look forward to tonight. They'll be talking about an ode. There won't be an ode, but there'll be a lot of talking around odes. Not like my other podcast, Talking to Toads. That's a different show. Or Talking Toads. That's a podcast. Those are on my to-do list, both of the Talking Around Toads. That's the only one I've done of the 3. I've made Sleep With Me Talking Around Toads. Or frogs. More frogs. Sorry, toads. An ode to toads. I love you loads at the end. I'm glad I thought of that. Like when you're not in my hand going to the bathroom, especially, that's my main toad memory. Even when just in the palm, a toad in the palm of my hand leaves something behind that there's my, that I wouldn't write a note about. Anyway, this is a Sleep With Me's episodically modular story, which means you can listen to this in any order. It's basically a journal of someone named Rin who is helping be helpful via pets. This episode's about cereal, the thing you have at breakfast time, and it'll be nice and meandering. I don't think there's any other setup you need. It's episodically modular, procedural, so you know that you can get your bedtime started right. And speaking of procedure, one of our procedures to start every episode of our episodically modular series is our Hollywood announcer, whose procedure when they get here is to, be as quiet as possible, which they're so good at. That's all I could say. I mean, I could say more about when they're not good at it, but, rarely have we seen a person who hasn't been as quiet as Antonio Banderas, who drives up here from L.A. for free. Mr. Antonio Banderas. So friends beyond the binaries, the ladies, the gentlemen, the boys, the girls, it's time for Make Great Pets Meow. Wow, I like that. Thanks, Antonio. This is Make Great Pets. Hey, this is Rin, and I'm recording this. This is my journal, just in case this is your first day. I've had a couple days on the job, but I'm still kind of new, and I'm kind of recording my process that I've been involved in for training purposes. I'm not exactly sure what they're going to do with these journals, but I would think they would play them back, or someone's listening, I hope. And maybe you're recording them. There is the part that it's like, by recording these, that I kind of get a perspective. And I'm assuming you know the rest. We're part of this Helpful Pets program. That's just a suggestion as what to call it. Post Bezos, Cash Penny. They're trying out with the available Earths. This is one of the things they're trying out. This is what they told me. They said, okay, we tried Guardian Angels. That didn't work. They too powerful. They said, couldn't I have been an angel with some of that angel power? They said, so angels really could smoke. They said, moving forward. And they said, and then the opposite of Guardian Angels didn't work. In fact, that did not work so spectacularly. Multiple timelines of Earth. Apparently there's other timelines of Earth that's not just in the movies or alt Earths. I don't know what that would mean, but let's just pretend. They said, try to forget all that, because you just remember, this is the most important. This is the timeline. I've never been even when I was back in human form, I couldn't manage just living in one timeline. I mean, it was one timeline, but I was trying to go ahead and behind at this, couldn't. They said, maybe that's part of and I said, is this one of those things where it turns out this has been a process for me? So anyway, I'm supposed to record my experiences, trying to help, in case you're new, that this would comfort you. Maybe say, wow, I'm very, compared to this person, Ren, I'm very qualified. And try to give you tips and maybe keep it past the time, because there is a lot of time to pass. I don't want to get into that. And I record these while my pet is asleep. Right now, I'm Lynn, and I'm a cat. My first time being a cat. And normally I record these after my first day, but to be honest, and you may hear it in my voice, I'm a little bit, this is my second day. My first day was that we were traveling. Ziva is my person. And, we were so I had some sleepy stuff that Ziva gave me to keep me calm during travel. So I was kind of out of it, to be honest, and I didn't record because I was asleep most of the time. And then when I was awake, I said, is this what it's always like being a cat? No wonder but it turns out that was just the medicine. That was so today I'm a little groggy, but that could just be, I don't know. Again, this is my first time being a cat or within a cat, whatever you want to call it. And as you probably know, but just in case you don't know, so we inhabit these pets. We can't control them totally, but we can influence them where neither pilot or passenger, but both at the same time. I mean, we could definitely mostly control the pet, to be honest. They just say that in the training. You just can't, if you try to initiate, it's kind of like passive, works best for me if you really want to control the pet. I'm just saying, like, let's just say, in cat, I found, if you want to, like, stare at someone that you find you're not, like, that is a situation I found myself in today that you may have strong feelings about, and then accidentally show them your, like they say, like you put your tail up and you turn your back to them and then say, look at that, for a while. That's like, you could, like, I was able to do that, but you got to influence it. You can't directly control it, but if you think about it in a gentle way, you can do it. You know, and I don't know, I don't think there's any demerits, but if I guess probably maybe I'll just keep having to do this. Is that what's going on? Like, if once I get this right, then I get to be, it's not that bad being a pet. I guess something to do, except when the downtime part. Okay, so this is day 2, technically, but a day 1. And we are traveling, so we're not at home. We're staying at a hotel, and not bad. And then we headed to so Ziva is my human. Now, there are a couple other humans being referred to, or part of Ziva's, her family, or like her cousin and her best friend are meeting us, but they're not here. They're not here yet. So this is like we have adjoining rooms. And I guess it's like an older cousin. So we go to this, by the way, I'm like an indoor-outdoor cat that gets taken everywhere, which I know some people have, even today, they made looks. They said, by the way, I'm alert. And I said, okay, Ziva is being deferred to a lot in this situation, which I'll explain. So even though they said, okay, well, you can leave the conference room, the person that was allergic to cats, I mean, people are. But a lot of other people say, why is a cat in a bag? So I have a backpack and a foldable wagon. Though I could walk, but I'm unleashed. So we went to this corporate industrial building, and we had a town car take us there. And everyone was like, even though the building was somewhat drab, turns out it's a headquarters. So I'll give you some of the information. Who? Ziva. And 2 other family members we haven't met. And then the CEO and the board of directors of this company, which is one of the top companies that makes breakfast cereal worldwide. And just like there's been changes in being guardian angels, turns out that there's a lot of changes going on, or have been going on, in breakfast cereal. Which is kind of the part of the what and the why. But part of it was like they were very excited for Ziva to come. Ziva, I'll explain more, but because Ziva did not win a contest, but it's something similar. So Ziva was like the guest of honor. They had balloons. They had people taking pictures and video, and we were not comfortable. I was, because I'm just a cat, and I was like a little dazed from yesterday. And I was in my backpack, so I had a bubble. I was shielded. But Ziva was doing her best, but it was like... Ziva's what I'm gathering is Ziva's not an attention seeker, and that this was that Ziva feels put upon, because she told me that. She said, so I'm not just projecting on Ziva. Okay, so Ziva was greeted with great enthusiasm. Now, none of the press or anything, they had something out, like it was like a formal thing. By the way, halfway there, the car picked up a public relations person that explained everything that was going to happen. So it wasn't like anything was a surprise, and that there would be this formal greeting ceremony. I was still waking up, but they made it, the CEO and some board of directors and the head of the union, they all made speeches. and talked about how exciting it was. There's banners. And then we went then we got a tour of the facility. And then Ziva asked for a break, and they said, well, we don't really have, they said, well, we're going to have, and they said, don't worry, we're going to have private conversation time. The formal stuff will be over by, and then they had a luncheon. Then they actually did give Ziva a break, but it wasn't like they just had a spare office. But we took a break in there. So it's a lot of activity, especially for a cat and just getting to know somebody. But eventually, then we had a meeting with the CEO and the board of directors of this cereal company. And that's where stuff started to get explained in very clear terms. And but they did say, have you read everything we've sent you? And Ziva said, no, or I've perused it. But can you explain everything to me? And then so this is the who, what, where, when, and why kind of summary, because this is what's important. Well, one, Ziva's outside of her comfort zone, and Ziva's being asked to do something within, not outside of, outside of Ziva's comfort zone, but not outside of the realm of good taste or anything. Nothing okay, let me explain it. That'd be easier. So I said it was a contest, but it wasn't really a contest. And every time they started, Ziva said, back up and explain it more. So start at the beginning. Now, I'm not going to start at the beginning, but basically, Ziva, they talked about the history of cereal companies. I'll just give you what's important that I noticed. At some point in the world, they said, entire aisle of, this is just my summary. So, because if it's some sort of cereal historian, I don't know if you're some sort of cereal historian, you might object to some of this, but this is just a quick version, my version. But they said this whole aisle of cereal, breakfast cereal, they started getting involved in the priorities, cultural priorities shifted. But the companies were like, no. And so there was a big disagreements about it. And basically they set limits and rules. And some of it did get a bit complicated, with the whole world being involved and different local, not all bureaucracy is bad, but bureaucracy can make things complicated. And there was only a couple cereal companies, while they didn't have a monopoly, they did kind of have a monopoly. But eventually, the overall goal, while the result was not that, it was hey, let's just do we really need all of these selections? Is it a good use of resources and a good expression of our societal values? And once they got past all the, discussions about those things, and worked on implementing stuff, they said, okay, well, they just set limits. It's hard for me to I didn't even understand it, but with how many cereals you could basically sell within different categories, that's where it got to be something. But it was a lot different than if you're from the main, I think everyone had big aisles of these grocery stores of cereals in the U.S., but in this timeline, it spread everywhere. It became a popular thing in a lot of places. And then people decided, well, let's change this. But at the same time, it's kind of not everybody was a fan of it, but people got used to it. But what happened was, and it was a bit of the bureaucracy and maybe the wink corporate thing of trying to push these rules, right? Because there was rules and they're trying to find gray areas. And this particular company got caught. They said they didn't understand. So I don't know what the truth is, to be honest. This is where it's hard to separate the spirit within the cat from, the cat within the spirit, if you know what I'm saying. Or the Ren the cat within me is Ren. So basically what happened was they said, you have too many cereals within this one category of cereals. And it went on and on and on for a while. But basically, the ruling body about the international cereal body or whatever, of governing of cereals or whatever, said, no. Out of those 3 cereals, you can only sell 2, so you have to eliminate 1, period. I mean, it was a part of a big negotiation, but that's the thing they got reached. Now, to the credit of the CEO, she said, well, what if we like make this a positive? And this was all stated to us during this meeting when Ziva kept saying, let me understand more. Like, what was your viewpoint? Ziva's good at that kind of stuff. And they said, well, we could look at this like a positive instead of a negative. We've gone through the negotiations and we still have to eliminate one of these 3 cereals. Oh, what cereals are they? Cocoa Blue Planet Puffs, Queen's Corn Crunchy, and Frosting Flakes. So one of those 3 had to be cut back on, eliminated from the marketplace. Like they only had a permit to sell 2 of those 3 cereals, basically, within those categories. And they said they did some corporate brainstorming. Well, what if we put the flakes in the current? No, that's Corn Crunchy, Planet Cocoa Planet. So we can't. And then someone, the CEO actually, she said, well, what if we, why do we have to decide? What if we let the cereal lovers decide? Because the thing was that from their market research, they said, well, most people have a favorite of these 3. And they said, which one's the most popular? But let's not do it as a vote. They tested a bunch of different stuff out. Turns out cereal makes money. And then they started to see all these, they said, well, we don't want to have a vote, like just a straight vote, because that would kind of tend to delineate people that might like both, but then they have to take a side. And when people take sides, and, what if somebody figures out a gray area within the vote and changes the vote? But mostly they said, we don't want to split people up about this. The goal is like love of cereal. That's what they said. So then they had a contest, I guess, but it wasn't open for public voting, where they were looking for a piece of art about the love of cereal. And they said it should probably be general, not about the specific cereal, but have your specific cereal influence your vote. And whoever creates that piece of art will get to choose which cereal gets eliminated of the 3. And Ziva won that. Now, there's one wrinkle, which is that Lionel, who's Ziva's best friend, Ziva had written an ode to cereal, and then but not planning on, unrelated to this contest. But Lionel submitted it, and got Ziva's permission, but didn't tell Ziva what they're so Ziva's under the impression that Lionel was submitting it to a quarterly journal or something, or poetry collection for the library, and not an international cereal elimination contest. Okay, so then I'm trying to think what else happened at the meeting that's important. They said, okay, well, as part of this weekend, in a few days, they said, don't worry, because Ziva said, well, I don't Ziva explained, and they said, well, it's past that point, and you legally are in a binding, would have to go to binding arbitration or something, and so you kind of have to choose. At this point, it's too late. And don't worry, they said, we have a limitless amount of focus groups ready to go all week, all weekend or whatever, the next 3 days, and then you'll decide, and we'll have the unveiling. And they said, okay, that's interesting. And, so they said, just figure it out. You'll figure it out. It'll be fine. We're here to help. But you have to choose something in the next few days. Choose a cereal. But don't worry, we're here to help. And don't worry, your guests will be there. They'll offer, some support, and it's going to be fine. It's just breakfast cereal. So that's where we're at, is today. That was today. Then we're back at the hotel. And Ziva was doing a lot of pacing. Then Lionel came. Then Ziva was ignoring Lionel. And then her cousin Cinda's coming tomorrow. So at some point, maybe in the afternoon, to help. But it definitely it didn't like a couple of board members and Lionel. I said, why'd you do this? And that was the discussion they had this evening. It's like, why? Still can't believe you put me in this position. And Lionel said, you're the belle of the world cereal ball. I'm surprised they're not having one. And everyone's so excited. And this turned out to be this strange unifying event over cereal consumption. It's ironic and cool at the same time. And gross. And so, as Ziva said, mostly gross. There's two, and it's Lionel's in this position, much like the board or whatever, the CEO. Oh, this is just a win-win-win. Where Ziva's I think there's a lot of downsides to this. What people are going to be, and they said, just sleep. Lionel said, just sleep on it, and it'll be fine. So I don't know. I'm going to sleep on it too, and I'll be back after I see how things go tomorrow. Okay, hey, it's me, Lynn, the cat. And thanks for asking. Today was even better day as a cat. And today was a bit of a roller coaster. I guess Ziva had got a great idea, which was like a database decision or database decision. And so spent most of the day at the Serial Headquarters HQ, gathering all the info we had about the three cereals, their profiles, their popularity, even some of the pluses for the company. Ziva even interviewed workers that work on each production. Did video conferencing with workers around the globe. They don't say all cereals are local, but you could say that. It might not be accurate, but your cereal may have been produced locally. Oh, so a lot of stuff trying to gather all the facts so that in the end, Ziva can make an ironclad argument about which cereal really was the best. Not meaning the most popular, but even looking at the ingredients and then the flavor which had the most, from combing through cereal reviews, reading. I mean, Ziva didn't want to get anyone involved immediately, but looking at all the literature, anything written about these three cereals, the history of their development, what cereal came first, Cocoa Blue, Planet Puffs, and where they stand in popular culture, and each gathering, and this is one of Ziva's skill sets. So it was every few hours they would do a new focus group, and Ziva would present the argument, and I guess all these focus group people are committed to, being giving their opinions, but they're all staying. So maybe they're staying at the same hotel. I didn't even think about that. But so none of these ironclad arguments stood up, even so then we gathered more data. And again, the company had, limitless researchers. I mean, which is only a few people that were really good. And then Ziva would present the argument again, very much in a legal, scientific standpoint. and they could not draw any there was never any consensus around any of the decisions. And a lot of times it didn't go well. And this left Ziva feeling really, and I was trying to help because I said, this is like, I was doing a lot of purring, like as Ziva made each new discovery. But in the end, there's too many holes, no ironclad way to defend one cereal where like it was so fully logical and clear, even though it was, but I'm not, Ziva said, we'll never speak of this, because now we got to start anew tomorrow. But it was like, even when it was, then there was other data that would contradict it. So I guess I was wrong because they said, well, what about this? In this, blind taste test, 87% of people chose this. Oh, but when there's no blind taste test, 84% of people choose this. Oh, like this one, different milks, all. So turns out data, facts, and science did not help create something wherein Ziva felt like no one's going to pick holes in my decision. Now, I think I have a feeling, and I've tried to purr and even do some sandpaper hand licks and arm licks to comfort Ziva, because I think that's the way forward. Is the emotional argument, which is, I guess, what we're going to work on tomorrow. Okay, hey, it's me again. It's Rin, or Lynn the cat. Rin and Lynn. So, let's see. So, the emotional part today did not, it did not, Cinda's here now. So Cinda and I'm not even in the same room. So I don't know what's going on there. Cinda said, let's talk without the cat. But so today kind of didn't go great. The plan was similar to yesterday going in. And it was also using the focus groups to find out, instead of pitching, to find out more. I said, how many focus groups has this company gathered? But it was just too many. And I say, from my standpoint as a curious cat, I say, how did they come up with these cereals that kind of are land in this 33 percentile, and that people feel so strongly about? Now I know the restrictions probably changed people's feelings about it, and made people more intensely loyal to one cereal versus the other. And it even got to the point where Ziva and the CEO and the board tried to get on. They said, look at this. Emotionally, people don't want to agree to one of these cereal. And they said, sorry, this is the rules. There's no choice. You have your person. This is like they have a ticking clock. This has to just be decided. Otherwise, they lose the rights to sell cereal internationally. So, in summary, I guess, the emotional-based argument did not work at all. Where Ziva thought maybe enough nostalgia could tip the scales, or maybe enough empathy, could be developed where people would say, well, I understand now. And, I'll find a new cereal to love, even though this isn't some of the stuff people eat every day. But I guess maybe that adds to, that's what we discovered is that changes it. If you have it twice a month, turns out you feel emotionally more attached to it. So didn't go well. I don't know what Ziva and Cinder are talking about, but I'm going to rest because I'm just spent, and we'll see what happens. Okay, it's Ren, and what is it, day 5 or something? And it's coming up on It's coming up. I don't know. I guess you could probably hear it in my voice. I'm a little uncomfortable, but tomorrow afternoon is a big announcement, and we're almost there because Cinna and Ziva, they came up with this new plan last night and then during the day today. And even Lionel kind of got on board with this, which was, oh boy, so what happened was that, and I don't know, I'm not even sure why I feel so strongly about it, because we got a solution, and it's a good one for Ziva. But I feel like it's just too tied up in a bow where it's not actually, I don't know. I don't know if it's my cat instincts or something. Being a pet is different than being a person in somebody's life. And I think being a pet, you got to remember you're closer to that person's heart in some strange way, or you're a part of their hearts. Not physically, obviously, but almost like their circulation system. And maybe that's not what you have with... I don't know. I'm trying to explain something I can't explain. Because the Senate came in and said, okay, what's stressing you out, Ziva? Because they did get, Ziva told Lionel everything. I guess Lionel and Cinna don't speak either. And that's part of, because Lionel did it without permission. But Lionel said, tell me what's going on and how I can help. I'm sorry about this whole thing. And Ziva said, okay, what we're going to do is invite the representatives of, the biggest fan groups of each serial who are pretty, this is what, Ziva was actually afraid of. And we'll try to get concessions, which groups are biggest. This is all Cinna's plan. But it was pretty solid. It was okay, what is, Ziva's biggest fears is feeling like one group is going to be upset about the cereal going away, and then, then they'll be not nice to her, or just feeling exposed. But also, Cinna was well, you can ask for anything. There is a compensation for this. But maybe that compensation's not enough. Maybe you want enough compensation to give you some certainty as well. And then Lionel said, well, what about me? And Cinna said, that should be easy to get from the company, because if you just don't decide, they're going to have to make some calculations. And, you could say, well, I couldn't decide, she said, right now your negotiation position is strongest with everybody. So tomorrow we're going to meet with all these parties and extract some certainty from them, financial certainty from the company, support from the union, because the union had a clear serial out of 2 out of 3 that they preferred. And from the fan groups, but also making concessions to all the fan groups, which fan group, looking at it like a negotiation by Venn diagram, I think was what Cinna said. And we'll find all the overlaps of what we can get the most out of and the least resistance on the other side from. We'll get it all locked in. And it'll be great. Now, and this will help mitigate any downsides. And Ziva, from a data standpoint, said, wait a second, this might just work. And we actually looked at the arrangement that the board of directors had. We said, wait a second, that's what they get for doing that. Isn't that a part-time job? And so I guess Cinna had already contacted people, so I guess that part is almost locked in. I mean, not quite, but I don't know. So I'm not totally comfortable with everything. And what I did was I found Ziva's ode, and I put it in front of 3 boxes of cereal that she has on the desk in her room. because I don't know. It's like, I feel like the ode, none of this is based on love of cereal. And I guess I'm like learning how much as a pet can I control? Can I just purr? So I'm hoping that by just being present here with Ziva, this is like a low, as a cat, you can't do much. But I don't know. Maybe she'll read the ode. Maybe she'll change her mind, or maybe I'll just be there as her pet, however it works out. Okay, it's me again. It's I guess I want to say great news. I'm assuming this is my my goodbye, because I feel like emotionally we got to a place that works. There's still some uncertainty. And it was funny because it was also, so Ziva read the ode inside and tasted the cereals and told Senna to put everything on hold and that she needed time to deal with this by herself, and told Lionel that she would, evaluate if they could still be friends. And there seemed to be still one more piece left, and we were playing laser pointer chase in the hotel room, where I get to knock over stuff because it's a hotel room. And oh boy, is it fun? Holy cow! I'm not in. That's when I'm just a passenger. But at one point, I thought I had the laser pointer cornered, because it's tough to know it's not a laser pointer. And like I was trying to bluff it to move so then I could move in reaction to it. And Ziva said, "Are you bluffing it?" And then like about 5 minutes later, she said, "Holy cow, that's it. Bluffing it." And she called, she said, "I'm ready. And I'm ready for a solution that's actual, probably a win-win-win." And she told the CEO and the board to sit down and bring in the public relations people. And she said, "Are you ready for an inside, outside the box idea?" She said, "First of all, can you put presents back in cereal or like toys or something?" And they said, "Is this part of your decision?" And she said, "No, but I think you should do that." And they said, "Well, think about it. What cereal did you decide on?" And she said, "All of them and none of them." She goes, "Secretly," she goes, "I still want that, I want to draw that salary, but I'll be earning a salary, separate from you, and have another proposal." She goes, "But you were kind of bluffing, right? Like, there's still some gray area to be explored." And they said, "Well, kind of, but go ahead. Not that we could balance with the public relations. No, that was the piece we couldn't put together. And yeah, because we have competition, so if we tried to get out of it, it looked like it would impact us negatively." And she said, "Well, the thing is, this is all about the love of the cereal, right?" And I started thinking, like, which cereal would I miss most was like part of the emotional thing. I couldn't wrap my head around when I was trying the emotional argument, or which cereal has the biggest flavors, which cereal has the subtlest flavors, or which has the best mouthfeel. And she goes, and then I read my ode last night, and I thought about it and said, like, what if how many things were submitted? And they said, not that many. You'd be surprised. And she said, but the thing is that it's about it's not just about savoring your cereal, but savoring moments in life. And everyone should have their own ode, whether it's the cereal or something else. And which cereal would you miss? And they said, "Okay, we're confused." And she goes, "Well, you miss something when it's gone, but you want it to come back because you have an emotional connection to it, right?" And they said, "Okay." And she said, so I think we should have like a worldwide saver, like a day or something. And this could be totally independent of the thing. But she goes, I think you should be involved in that. But from the perspective of the cereals, I think what would work best is having, you just put them in rotation. Like, you don't get rid of any of them. You get rid of 2 of them for 8 months of the year. And then 4 months a year, you only sell 1 of these 3 cereals. And they were kind of like stumped, and they said, holy cow. And she goes, yeah, and then people will miss it. And during the time it's missed, the cereal that just went out, she goes, absence and probably make the heart grow fonder. Each one, she goes, don't you think this will work? And they said, yeah. And she said, don't you think you could, then you're taking 2 cereals out. She goes, can't you get the rules to agree to something like that? And they said, I think we can. And Ziva said, and then it is a win-win. No one has to lose a cereal, but everyone gets a temporary hold. And she goes, and then you can kind of see if people actually like them or not, because that's what was hard to parse when the cereal is going to go forever. I couldn't get people to clearly think about it. And she goes, and then I don't have to worry about pleasing everybody because everybody can find their own way. And I never wanted to choose one. This is something that somebody did on my behalf. Now I'm going to get something out of it. We're going to establish this worldwide saver foundation to savor whatever. You don't have to savor cereal. You could savor the moment. You could savor the sun. You could savor your feet on the ground. But also, I'll draw, just like the board members, the same deal with the health insurance and all of that. And we'll all, it'll be a win-win-win for real. And I purred, and then Ziva put me back in my backpack. And now we have our early morning flight, so I'm going to get some rest. And I'll see you in another pet sometime somewhere else. Hopefully something I did or a mistake I made was of service to you all. Good night. All right, I just want to thank some of the people over the past year that have filled out the form at sleepwithmepodcast.com/sponsors and supported the sponsors. Let's see, we got Kimberly, Carly, and Emily. Thank you, thanks, and good night. Ian, Josh, and Drew. Thank you, thanks, and good night. Look, Joan, and Jacqueline. Thank you, thanks, and good night. Madeline, Rachel, and Laura. Thank you, thanks, and good night. Tech, Christina, and Tim. Thank you, thanks, and good night. Emily, Misty, and Jackie. Thank you, thanks, and good night. Becca, Linz, and Eve. Thank you, thanks, and good night. Allison, Nick, and Mike. Thank you, thanks, and good night. Ava, and Ray, and Justin. Thank you, thanks, and good night. Katie, Lexi, and Josh. Thank you, thanks, and good night. Gwendolyn, Jackie, and Misty. Thank you, thanks, and good night. Zach, Melissa, and Jack. Thank you, thanks, good night. And same Melissa, Susan, and Carrie. Thank you, thanks, good night. Thanks everybody who supports the show. That's how we're able to be free choice week. It's people that support the sponsors or support the show directly on Patreon or Apple Podcasts. I really appreciate it. Couldn't do without you. There are huge free ways to help the shows. Just spread the word about podcasting and let people know about podcasts. I really appreciate it. Couldn't do without all you. And here's a couple of Tuck You In sponsors that have enabled us to grow all these archives. You got like 500 something episodes if you need them. Thanks and good night, everybody.